Good day. This is Brother Medina for Tuesday, Seventh-day Adventist. And please let us start with a word of prayer. Gracious, loving Father, be with us as we enter into your word. Help us to explain ourselves in such a way that people may understand your love and may be aware of what they should turn from and deliver themselves by your grace. So be with us that we may show these truths. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen. Well, today we want to talk about protection from the ungodly. Protection from the ungodly. And you may find that this is a strange topic to talk about protection from the ungodly. Let's get an example of what we are talking about here. If we turn to 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 17, here is what we are told. I quote, "Ye therefore, beloved, seeing you know these things before, beware lest ye also, being led away with the error of the wicked, fall from your own steadfastness." End of quote. So we are being warned, since we're supposed to know before, we are not supposed to allow ourselves to fall away through being influenced by the error of the wicked. This means that wicked people or evil men, that gets worse and worse, have various errors that destroy them. But they don't keep those errors to themselves. They share those errors with other people, causing those people to also fall from the truth. Yes, my dear people. We have errors in gender sciences. We have errors in climatic sciences, dealing with the climate. We have errors in political doctrines. We have errors in various social doctrines, errors in feminism, errors with regards to rights and freedoms, errors also in religion multiplying by the millions, so that people live in an environment that is of the devil. This is why Jesus himself says he prayed not for the world, because the world is taken over by the devil with errors that abound. And all the hope one can have is to call remnants out of that world into the gospel of Christ. Yes, my dear people. Something terrible happened in Florida some time ago. There was a school shooting in which 17 children died. Since that time, the mainstream media, especially CNN and MSNBC, but especially CNN, have been using this for a lot of propaganda purposes. Let me show you what happened here. A young boy, this boy was Jewish, he said his mother was Jewish, went into the school with an assault rifle and started shooting children in the school. Yes, my dear people. The mainstream media did not tell you what really happened. The facts are that this boy killed 17 people. Where was the sheriff at that time? Where was the authorities at that time? Video footage emerged that while the shooting was going on, the sheriff and 3 other of his officers stood outside waiting for 5 minutes. When you check how much people died, within that 5 minutes, it was 17 people. Had they moved in before, they could have saved some of those people from dying. They stood outside for 5 to 6 minutes waiting while the shooting was going on. Not just only that, information eventually emerged that the FBI was already there before, almost as if they knew something was going to happen. Now some people say, oh, you all are these conspiracy theories. This is not a question of conspiracy theories. The very phrase conspiracy theories is a wrong phrase, because people conspire all along, over and over, in common simple things. If two persons get together in secret and say, let us go and do a robbery, and they tell nobody, that is conspiracy. It is a secret gathering where you make up plans to do something, whether that thing is for a person or against a person. If 3 persons get together and say, this person has a birthday coming up at such and such time, and let us do this and do that and do that to surprise that person for his birthday, that is a conspiracy, but a good one. And so, conspiracy is natural to human beings, even in good and much more in evil. So the phrase conspiracy theory is just a derogatory phrase invented by the Anti-Defamation League, a Jewish organization in America, to stop people from pointing out conspiracies they see in their midst being done by certain people. But nobody is talking about conspiracy. When the guy decided he was going and shoot, he didn't tell everybody. He was in conspiracy. Yes, my dear people, that was a conspiracy. That's exactly what it was. So there's no idea of conspiracy theories. Sometimes a person may lie about the facts as it happened and fool people and make people think this is what was going on when it wasn't going on. But if they lie, that is a conspiracy on their part also. The mainstream media have been the greatest conspirators, especially CNN, which likes to present its face as the face of the US. This media house does not even have 700,000 regular viewers out of 385 million in America. They don't even have 700,000. And their ratings keep dropping when people begin to become aware of their lies. But because they pay airports to broadcast them and other places, notice this, they pay airports to broadcast their media, people come to see it as the face of the US and think that they are a reputable organization. That is why we do not call them cable news network. We call them Certainly Not News or Criminal News Network. That's what we call them. Or Communist News Network. Because they are always pushing left-leaning philosophies and concepts to manufacture consent from the governed that certain policies can be passed to create the New World Order. You must remember, studies have been done since the 1950s as to what it means to manufacture consent among democratic societies, so that you can get the population to call for what those who are in the conspiracies themselves want, so that the people will think it is their natural wishes that is being fulfilled when legislation is passed and policies are pushed. This is something that is a fact now. Studies have been done over a period of time to achieve this. So nobody is talking about conspiracy here when we're talking about this issue here. We are talking about what really happened. So much that now in Florida, the governor there and his authorities has called for an investigation as to why those sheriffs actually stood by for about 5 to 6 minutes while the shooting was going on. And how come the FBI was there before and did nothing? Besides that, this gentleman, this boy that shoot those people, was flagged already as being a disturbed person terribly. Not just only that, 3 to 4 times there was information that went to the FBI and other authorities that this boy was a potential shooter. And even though they knew he was disturbed, he was sold assault rifles. He was sold guns. Knowing that a person was sick, so one shouldn't do that. It is almost as if they used somebody to achieve something that they wanted. They allowed a sick person to get these guns. And not just only that. This sick person has been on psychotropic drugs for a long while. He was on Prozac, a psychotropic drug. And is it not surprising that much of these mass shooters in the US have always been on psychotropic drugs like Prozac and others? If those drugs are supposed to cool them down or pacify them and make them a little more better behaved, how is it they always fail? Then why do you keep giving people these kind of drugs? And it is not working. Unless the drugs itself may cause some kind of disillusionment and operations like that you saw there. But besides all that, the point is, why didn't the sheriffs go in and stop it? Why didn't the FBI do the same thing? Another shocking thing again is that the communication system that they get in the police cars, that you can call and say such and such is going on, actually failed or went down during that time when the shooting was going on. Now, isn't that some kind of a horrible thing? Could you imagine that? While the shooting is going on, the communication system of the police went down, failed temporarily. And that's not the only time. In the mass shooting that took place in Las Vegas from the hotels, the same thing happened. The same thing happened. Which is that all of a sudden the communication failed. Do you know it took other sheriffs from another county to come there and move in to stop the boy, while the other sheriffs that were in their own area to deal with it did not deal with it? While they stood down. While they stood down, while the FBI stood down, another set of sheriffs went in and stopped the shooting. And had they not done that, more people would have died. And then they start blaming guns as if it's guns that kill people. Guns don't kill people. It is people that kill people. Yes, my dear people. But all this, when the media comes up and tries to make a whole issue of the Second Amendment of the United States about carrying guns, they make a whole issue about that. But you see, they fool people with error because they want to achieve their agenda. And we are want to not to allow wicked men to do that to us. Yes, my dear people. But there are even more things in this same situation here. Along comes CNN and is seeking to push an agenda to get the children to call for gun control, literally scripts what the children were supposed to see, so that it won't be open talk based upon what the children have as their desires. They literally scripted what the children should say in the interview. so that they all call for gun control. They all attack the President of the United States, Donald Trump, who is CNN's favorite bashing boy. They all did that. But one of the boys refused. And he came out and said he's not going to follow a script. He's going to speak normally based upon what he knows that happens here. Do you know that? Yes, my dear people. And shock of all shock, 2 of the children that were there, that were supposed to be scripted, did not even belong to the state, was not even there when the shooting was going on. And they were the ones who loudly called for gun control. Obviously, the whole thing seems like a conspiracy. Obviously. So, they call for the banning of assault rifles in Florida. But the Florida government, smart. What did they do? They turned down banning assault rifles, but instead gave legal grounds for teachers to now arm themselves with hidden arms in cases of like these. You see what was going on here? So people come and say, well, look at what you all are saying. These things that you all are saying are not true. Let me tell you this. What we said here is true, and there is now an inquiry going on as to why did those things happen. Not that to find out if it happened, but why did it happen? Because video footage actually show the sheriffs hiding by some trees, waiting by their cars at the very same minutes the shooting was going on. Video footage show it. So what we are telling you is not conspiracy. We are telling you the facts as they are. But you see, all these things to create a new world order, to bring about a new world order. People will die. People have to die for this to happen. A lot of strange things are taking place. There's this mysterious, what we call virus X, that is supposed to come, that will kill so much people. And people that were associated with finding out this virus X, especially a particular man, just suddenly went missing. Just suddenly went missing for days. Nobody knows where he is. Presumably, after 16 days, he should have been dead already. These are the things happening. And then you come and tell us, oh, you all conspiracy theorists. People who take things normal in the face of such evidences are a problem. These are the ones that soothe your fears while Rome is burning down. While the place is on fire, they close your eyes to urgency and to move in with urgency for protection. That's what they do. Now look at what happened again with the media. We have always shown you that the mainstream media, which is Jewish controlled, is part of the what we call consent building of the New World Order, because they create the consent by the things they push, by the materials they push, by the errors they push. So all of a sudden, after this guy did this shooting in the school, the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, puts out a statement saying that this guy was a white supremacist, a white nationalist supremacist. That's what they said. Although the guy was Jewish, but they said he was a white nationalist supremacist. How did the ADL know that? Why did they lie? And it was a lie. But guess what happened? After that, Reuters news agency and news gathering agency took that from the ADL, and this news gathering agency wrote the major news for all the mainstream media. So the mainstream media started saying this boy was a white supremacist. That's what the mainstream media started saying about it. Until one of the sheriffs came out and said, no, 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 this boy is not a white supremacist. And that is what happened that caused the mainstream media to drop the narrative of this person is a white supremacist. That's what caused them to drop it, because the sheriff came out and said, no, he isn't. But his website shows that he's on the left. He is socialist, communist, leftist. That's what it shows. But nobody make an issue that that is a dangerous philosophy. No. And this is what really happened. So you see, there's a whole web of conspiracy, a whole web of organizations that tied into each other and use events to push their New World Order. Why do they want to confiscate guns in America? Because the same thing happened when guns was confiscated in the old Russia. The communists were able to take over because people couldn't defend themselves. The same thing happened in Germany. The same thing happened in countries where communism took over. The people's guns were first confiscated so that they could not form militias to defend themselves. Or they tried it in Spain, but they did not succeed because General Franco stopped the communists. After the communists murdered hundreds of thousands of people in Spain, because the Spanish people had their weapons with the General Franco and the army, they were able to defeat the communists in Spain, or else Spain would have known as a communist nation too for years. And so the same thing about confiscating of guns in America has been going on. That's the same talk. And that's what these media houses want to achieve. But that is not all. Look at this shocking thing. Do you know, and the media didn't tell you this, you didn't hear this from the mainstream media. Do you know that at the same time the shooting was supposed to have been going on in Florida, another shooting was taking place in Texas? Yes, my dear people. The person who did the shooting in Texas was able only to shoot about 2 persons. And another person who had a concealed weapon was able to take him down and stop him from killing more people. The police came on the scene, and do you know what they did? They shot the man who saved the people. The man who, using his licensed firearm, that took down the shooter in Texas, the police shot him. And thank God he didn't die, but went to the hospital and is recovering. But that's what they did. Oh, they moved fast there, but they shot the wrong person. Why the media didn't make that an issue? Why that wasn't big news all over the place? Because the media couldn't use that to achieve what they wanted to achieve by the Florida shooting. That's why they said nothing about that, but just a few little tidbits. And so the media was not able to use that to carry the narrative to manufacture consent. But that happened at the same time. You people don't know this. But the social media that has a lot of people that go on the ground and investigate and who are there, that social media through the internet revealed things that were really happening. And it is because the social media taken by the ordinary man as a means to disseminating news and his concepts stop the mainstream media from being able to lie to the people credibly and expose them at every step of the way. And so the social media have been a blessing once there's freedom to express yourself. So now the social media has decided, with Google, with Facebook, with Twitter, with Instagram, with YouTube, they have decided to now censor people on those social platforms. They say that they are censoring hate content. But the US Supreme Court already said hate speech. They already said that hate speech is not grounds to censor a person because of freedom of expression. So they are going against the Supreme Court ruling, and they are going against the First Amendment right in the Bill of Rights in the United States. But this is what these social platform leaders, these gigantic service media providers are now starting to do. What are they doing? They are censoring conservative content, claiming they are stopping hate speech. They are actually censoring conservative content. All the leftist content they are not censoring, all the pornography they are not censoring, all the gender perversions they are not censoring, but they are censoring conservative concepts because they don't want the people to be free from the narrative of the mainstream media. That's what they are doing. They have taken down various conservative pages that have shown plenty truths and facts that have helped millions. And do you know what Google has done? Google have hired the Southern Poverty Law Center in America, a left-wing organization that claims to have a body of lawyers to fight for left-wing causes and to destroy conservative causes. They've taken that organization, hired people there to censor Google, to censor the internet. Google has hired them to do that. Facebook have hired them to do that. YouTube have hired them to do that. So the Southern Poverty Law Center is now working to censor the very same information that stopped the mainstream media from lying to people to carry the narrative. They demand that something like this shouldn't happen. So what are they doing? They're seeking to stop the real facts, as it were, from coming out. That's what they're doing. The European Union called upon the internet, which is centered in America, which is an American creation, told them, we're giving you 1 hour to take down all hate content. And hate defined as them. Look at Marie Le Pen. Marie Le Pen, who went up for elections in France. They call them far right, but they're really just nationalists. This is a thing the media does. In the media, they have think tanks that create terms to use and make the term become popular by constantly repeating it in the media. And then if those terms are supposed to be terms that identify something wrong, then those terms are supposed to be used to censor people. The term fake news was created by the media. But fake news happened to fall back upon their shoulders. Because look at the Iraq war. They claimed that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. And they were evil to the Middle East, evil to the world, was going to use the weapons of mass destruction. And so war was started after a meeting was held in the UN with the then foreign minister of the US under Bush, showing trucks that the government in Iraq had with nuclear weapons on it, and that they could quickly move it all over the country. And this led to war in Iraq, only to find out the whole thing was a lie. And that the dossier that was used to claim that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction came from Israel, from their Mossad, passed through British intelligence and then come to America. And so it was found out that after the war, after millions died, that Iraq did not have weapons of mass destruction. And who trumpeted that? CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, the mainstream media. Albeit there were a few people, like people who were doing investigations into Iraq, said that it wasn't so, they didn't have weapons of mass destruction. They turned out to be right. But they were not the mainstream media or the representatives of the powers or the deep state. Those that control the affairs in America, they were not representatives of them. But they completely rejected their ideas and actually followed the mainstream propaganda and had war with Iraq, causing millions to die, divide the country, destroy the country now. Look at what's going on in Syria. Do you know what people who were honest reporters said when they went there? They say everything you have been told about Syria by the mainstream media is a lie. They tell you that. And they show you that. And I am speaking right here now to you, my dear people. I looked at CNN and I saw CNN had a documentary about the destruction that took place in the war in Iraq against ISIS and the war in Raqqa, the capital of ISIS. And do you know what I saw as I am looking? They're showing you certain people in Raqqa in Syria who lost their grandfather when the bombing took place, but they're blaming Donald Trump for it. They're saying since he came in power, the Americans have been more vicious and so on. A lot of propaganda. And they're blaming him for the death of these people. And in it, they're showing the skull found of the grandfather of people and have the children weeping to create a sympathy. And they showed, look at the destruction America has done in Raqqa against ISIS. This is the people who have been cutting off people's head, seizing children, marrying 6-year-old children and all these sort of things, eating people's heart, drinking people's blood, all these sort of things. These are the people that were doing this. And what happened? They went now to Mosul in Iraq, where ISIS was defeated also. And they had somebody on the ground who is showing and saying, this is Mosul and so and so. And do you know the same picture they show from Raqqa? It is the same picture they were showing in Mosul with the bed found with the skull of the man, the grandfather. So one would think that you were actually seeing destruction taking place in Mosul. And this nobody told me, I saw it myself. This is the kind of propaganda you get from them. So now they're trying to make sure that you do not get the facts through the social media. So Marine Le Pen in France, who went up for elections to be president in France, but who lost, albeit through the election system being rigged by George Soros and company, she made a statement saying that ISIS have been doing too much damage to people and so on. And do you know the French authorities arrested her for saying that on the internet? Saying that she posted violent content? Charging her for that? So much France has fallen that you can't even say the enemy doing the wrong that they're doing. Because they will say violent content because they're against her because she's nationalistic. So they only want globalist-centered teachings and teachings that create the New World Order to exist. And that's what they are pushing for. And this is the reason why they have now started to censor the social media, because the social media have been able to stop the mainstream media from pushing their propaganda and manufacturing consent for the globalist policies. This is the battle that is going on now. You need to wake up to it, because it's going to turn on us Christians eventually. And it has already started doing so. Right? It has already started doing so. We are the ones that are going to face the problems. Do you know that they have already started censoring Christian sites? Yes, my dear people. That's what the social media people are doing. The Southern Poverty Law Center, SPLC, which is a left-wing or leftist communist legal organization or law organization in America, have started removing Christian websites also from YouTube, from the internet, because they see Christianity as too far right. And they are calling Christians mentally ill. This is the reason why one of these commentators who had the same kind of idea that Christianity is a mental illness said that about Mike Pence, who was the vice president of the United States. And they had to make her apologize, although she didn't give a good apology. So this is the war that we are facing, and this is why the Bible warns us, do not be fooled by the mainstream media. Remember, we are warned that do not be led away with the error of the wicked. Yes, my dear people. Now, if anyone wants this program, call us at 625-0446. 625-0446 will give us this program. So may God bless you until we meet again. In Jesus' holy name, amen.